This idea that silence is violence is not our tradition. It has to do with your own ijtihad and what you think is your ability and what you can do and how beneficial it is, and weighing things, fiqh al-mawazanat. And let people do their work. People can do their work. Everybody's doing what they were meant to do. Inna sa'ikum lashatta. All of your efforts are diverse. So there's different people doing different things. And thank God for people that really take it upon themselves to dedicate their lives to these things, because I met a woman who was not a Muslim at a fundraiser for the Rohingyas during the Rohingya crises. They're still in trouble, by the way. But when they're out of the news cycle, people forget them. Like now, Iran becomes prominent, and suddenly everybody forgets the evil that's being done in Gaza. But this woman, she was not a Muslim, and I asked her, what compelled you to do this? She said, well, I found out about it, and I just felt compelled to do it. That's a great blessing from Allah that people puts in the heart, people that dedicate their lives to these things. And those are the people that you should support when you get the opportunity to support people like that. I also met Mark Ratner, who died. He was a Jewish man, and Barbara Oshansky, who was a lawyer, and this woman, Evans, she was actually a lawyer from the UK that was working with them to try to, during the Guantanamo crises. And they were actually advocating for the prisoners at Guantanamo, just to give them habeas corpus. Because this is foundational to Anglo-Saxon tradition. People have a right to know what they're being accused of. But I interviewed them, and the interviews there was for a Saudi television program. And I interviewed them, and I was some Saudi youth, but I asked Mark Ratner, and Barbara Oshansky was half Palestinian, half Jewish, that's a difficult ethnicity to navigate. But I asked him, why are you doing that? And he said, because nobody else was doing it. And he's a professor of law at Columbia University, one of the most prestigious colleges in America. But that's what he said, because nobody else was doing it. So he felt compelled. And that's, Allah puts that in people's hearts to do things. So there are people that are doing these things, and the least we can do is just support them and make dua for them. But we also, this is life on earth. And you have a world-class historian with you here, because Dr. Winter is genuinely, I really know two great Western historians. One of them is Dr. Winter, but the other is Dr. Khalid Blankenship, who's just an amazing scholar of history at Temple University. But if you know enough history, you know how bad things get. And this is not the first time, and it won't be the last time. And we've lived through, those of us who are old enough here, we lived through 2 million dead Vietnamese, Viet Cong. We lived through Iraq. For those who remember Iraq, we lived through those days. There are over 1 million dead. We lived through Afghanistan, over 1 million dead. There's no Afghani that I know that wasn't directly affected by that. These are large numbers of people. It's pretty overwhelming. And Yemen and then Syria. It's just, you go on. And Palestine, the tragedy, I think, and the difficulty is it's been going on for such a long time. Most of these things happen, and then there's a kind of resolution, but this is like a gaping wound on the Ummah, but also on the planet. And I think that's the most painful aspect of it, is it just seems to just continue and these wounds get reopened. And we read a really brilliant book, and I'd recommend reading this book for everybody, by William Polk, called The 1,000-Year Crusade. It's called Crusade and Jihad, the 1,000-Year War against the global, the global North against the global South, Muslim South. But he was very, very, really great historian. He taught at Harvard, very sympathetic to the Muslims, but very fair also. And he goes from 1521, with the Russian incursions into the Khanates, all the way up to 2016, and just looks at the incredible devastation that the global North has wreaked on the Muslim South. I mean, it's really overwhelming when you see the numbers. Like, one of the lacunae in my own knowledge was just how horrific, what I knew somewhat, but I'd never really read about it about what was done in Indonesia, and the incredible suffering that the Indonesians went through, of not just the Dutch, but also the British occupation, the Japanese occupation. I mean, really great suffering. But there's a beautiful poem by Carl Sandburg called Grass, which is about some people passing by Verdun, which was a battle site in World War I. And they just ask, what is this place? Because now it's covered in grass. And he says, I'm the grass, let me work. So traumas happen, but also life goes on, and we have to keep going as a species and be hopeful. The Prophet was a hopeful. 191 years was the occupation of the Palestine under the Crusaders. It's a long time. So we're looking at 80 years now, really more, since it's 100 since 1917. In any case, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us our shortcomings, and inshallah make us just people of light and people of guidance and people that can help people navigate these dark times, and just be a solace and a sustenance to those in need as much as we can. Just taking even one widow, if you can find a widow, help a widow. The Prophet said, Al-Qa'im ala al-armara kal-mujahid fi sabilillah. To help a widow is a really good thing. And we have widows that it's a great loss. But just find something that you can do, even if it's in your small thing. I think we tend to forget about, we concern ourselves so much with the big picture, we forget the neighbor is in need.